Well, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
I will call this meeting to order. It is 8:31. Our first agenda item, do we have any excused absences?
Yes, we have two this morning. Brooke Oosterman, Lene Wells, had a moment, I forgot. Those are the only two that told us they would not be here today.
Okay. Okay, moving on. Do we have any conflicts of interest? Oh, thank you.
So moved. Support.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chad. Okay, conflicts of interest.
You did that.
Good, okay. We'll move on to approval of minutes from our June 26, 2024 meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll support.
Any discussion? Any changes? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item are financial statements. Tricia?
Good morning. The financial statements in your packet are as of June 30. However, they are preliminary. There's certainly a lot of year-end entries that haven't posted yet. The mark-to-market entry where we have to bring our investments to value at June 30, which can always go either way, as well as interest receivable, things like that. Most of the accruals for all the Brownfield projects themselves are done, and we can go through and look at those. If you want to turn to Statement B1, you can see down the very right-hand column, the last column there of the 2024 reimbursements, the actual column, $13.4 million has been either paid back to the developers or accrued. Part of that is also owed to the state for the 50% set that we have to give back. The transfer to the local Brownfield revolving fund, the revenue has been done. So $1.3 million in revenues was transferred over to that fund. Everything is pretty much on track and looking good. I'm happy to take any questions if you have any.
Yes. Hi, Tricia. I just have two questions. One on the 1205 West Fulton up top, and the Heritage Place toward the bottom. The actual numbers are zero on those, and I just can't remember why.
The 1205 West Fulton, we were at a point where that ended up going into the local revolving fund. You can see down at the bottom. I don't believe it was budgeted that way.
Yes.
Christian can jump in if he wants, but so you can see the 1205 West Fulton, 14,000 went into the local revolving fund of what was captured. And what was the other project you said?
Oh, just the Heritage Place down toward the bottom as well in the local. It's 5 or 6 up from the bottom.
Yeah, that, everything that we collected other than what is retained by the Brownfield, about in the middle of the pack up at the top, that went either back to the developer or back to the state.
Okay.
So we didn't capture enough to.
Heritage Place was the one with the adjustment that canceled the.
Oh, that's right, yes. We had an adjustment to that one. So we didn't bring in as much revenue as what was originally anticipated.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christian.
Any other questions or comments? I have just a couple, Tricia, on Statement B, the second line item, prior year adjustments and interest penalties. There's quite a significant variance there from budgeted to year-to-date, so just curious if you could provide a little background on what accounts for that.
Looks like the biggest adjustments happened in Parkland and lofts on Wealthy. Were those ones that we gave back? We had to,
One reached its cap, so we
yeah,
had to give the money back to the taxing jurisdictions because it reached its statutory cap for LBRF capture.
Okay,
And loss on Wealthy, that plan amendment was terminated by this body approximately 6 months ago, so we returned revenue for that project.
gotcha. Okay, and then the earnings from investments, there was about a 388%, I guess, variance there as well, so just looking for a little background on that.
yeah, that will change as our year-end entries go in.
Okay.
With the, like I said, with the mark-to-market and the interest receivable entries to bring us all to where we need to be right at the end of the fiscal year. So those numbers are not final. That is one of the numbers that's certainly preliminary. I am going to guess that we're probably going to be a little bit closer to our budget. I think the mark-to-market entry is going to probably bring our interest earnings down.
Okay. And we'll see the final numbers next month? Is that still a few
Yeah, that's
months
still a
out?
little bit too soon.
Okay,
A lot of times your final numbers will come, in the audit, which obviously
Sure.
looks very, very different. If you want finals in this format, I'm happy to provide that. It would probably be more like in November.
sure. Okay. We'll stay tuned on that. I think the last thing I just wanted to mention to our board here, staff continues to do a great job in terms of projecting potential future tax increment revenues year to year to really manage expectations. So I think, we can all see there that values obviously have continued to rise, which is a great thing for our economy. And again, I think, rather than go in the opposite direction, which would obviously be a little bit scary for many of us. So again, thank you to staff for managing the expectations there, and great to see the growth in revenues. That's all I have.
I just have one last question. Tricia, when will the work on the audit begin?
The auditors are usually on site the week, for 4 weeks, right after Labor Day. They'll go through everything. They're doing some prelim audits right now, of course. But the bulk of the work will happen in September. And then everything goes through the review process near the end of October. So by November, it should have numbers that are not going to change at that point.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tricia. So I believe we've got a motion on the table. We don't? Oh, my gosh, what's going on here? Sorry. I must still be sleeping. I drink a little bit more of this, so, okay. My apologies. Do I have a motion to
So moved.
approve the financial statement?
So moved.
Thank you. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, thank you, Chad, for keeping me on track. Okay, our next action item is Executive Director appointment. Okay.
There's some coffee, too.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
Do we have someone leading the conversation? I'm leading the conversation, okay. So essentially, well, actually, let me back up a minute. So I would like to take a moment and welcome Sarah Raniero to the Economic Development Department as our new Executive Director. It's fantastic to have you here, and she's hit the ground running. So we're going to add to her scope of work here by appointing her as an executive director of the Brownfield Authority. So that's the purpose of this particular action item. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Did you have Lynn? Did you have Lynn and I for the first? Yeah, you had
Okay.
it before.
All right.
Jeff.
All right.
It's okay.
Sorry.
It's like new people and a new.
Oh my gosh, it is. I know. All right.
I think we're good, right?
Okay, so we're good. All right. Next action item. We have a resolution approving and recommending a Brownfield plan amendment and approving an emerging developer grant for the Southtown Lofts project at 640 Eastern Southeast. Do I have a motion to approve?
Support.
All right. Jess?
All right. So this project, the Southtown Lofts, is being proposed by Larlin Communications, Inc. development team for a property located at 640 Eastern Avenue Southeast, which is located in the Franklin and Eastern Business District. As proposed, the project would include the demolition of the existing structurally compromised building and the construction of a new approximately 16,200 square foot mixed-use building. The new building will include about 5,600 square feet of commercial space, 260 square feet of retail space, and up to 12 apartments on the upper 3 floors. All 12 apartments are expected to be 1-bedrooms, and currently proposed rental rates are below 70% of the area median income. Total project costs are estimated at $4.7 million, with construction costs of $3.4 million. The developer is seeking reimbursement in the amount of $606,119 for Brownfield eligible activities, demolition, site preparation, public utility relocation, and stormwater management, among a few others. It's anticipated that the Brownfield plan will remain in place for the full 30 years, with the final 5 years being captured for the local Brownfield revolving fund. Additionally, the developer is requesting an emerging developer grant from the local Brownfield revolving fund in the amount of $165,350 for pre-development costs that include architectural, engineering, environmental assessment, site planning, and then we've also added the Brownfield plan preparation to that grant as well. The team does meet the emerging developer definition that's outlined in your policy. So they currently own the property, and they will maintain ownership of the property after the project is completed. And they are currently working and being supported by Pinnacle Construction in the project as well. They are participating in the inclusion plan, and they have set a goal of 10% participation, or $340,000 of the $3.4 million in construction costs for MLBE, WBE, and MBE subcontractors. The project is also being supported through the city's revitalization and placemaking program allocation with a $1.7 million grant. They've also gone to the Southtown Corridor Improvement Authority and asked for a facade improvement grant, which was also approved. And they are seeking a 15-year neighborhood enterprise zone as well, which will be considered by the City Commission along the same timeline as the Brownfield plan. So at this time, I'm going to ask Dion Bowles from Larlin Communications and then James Lewis from Pinnacle Construction to share some more info. Yeah, absolutely.
You said that they fit all our criteria as an emerging.
Yep.
And then you listed 3 things, one of which was they own the property, they're going to continue to own the property.
Correct.
What happens if they don't continue to own the property?
I mean, I think we haven't crossed that bridge. What was that?
30 years that they have to own the property?
No, we wouldn't say 30 years. That would be, so the grant is separate from the TIF. But I mean, I think we haven't built that in. That's a great question, Lynn. I think we would have to explore that if that were to come about. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Go ahead. You, Jess.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dion Bowles, and I am the Executive Director of Larlin Communications. We are a minority-founded and operated 50c3 nonprofit organization, and we are currently seeking these tax credits in regards to our project, Southtown Lofts. But to speak generally to our nonprofit, we are home of 91.9 FM, a non-commercial educational station that services West Michigan. We're also home to the Next Gen Media GR Broadcast Media Academy. In partnership with Grand Rapids Public Schools, we teach the next generation the power of their voice. So GRPS students come in twice weekly in 6-week increments, 4 times a year to learn introduction to radio, television, film, cinematography, and the art of storytelling. We really desire to create a career blueprint for them in regards to the broadcast media industry. And we have no intention of going anywhere from 640 Eastern. It is our mission to continue to serve within the heart of our community. Thank you.
Good question.
Sure.
Okay.
Please.
How does owning and promoting broadcasting involve into owning and building a building?
Actually, we were in community discussions with Darryl Ross from the Star Garden. And before the construction of the ICCF building, Steepletown, before Eastern Lofts, probably about, I want to say, 10 years ago, he said for the sustainability of the nonprofit, you might want to consider doing apartments. And I thought, now that's a wonderful idea. And about 5 years ago, I approached Pinnacle Construction and James Lewis, our development director, and he came on and spearheaded the project. And he has really, truly helped us navigate this sphere. So we're really excited to do this project. Any other questions?
I just have two. In terms of the overall project schedule, can you talk us through that?
I'll let James do that.
Okay, sounds good.
That's his spear.
I guess the second question maybe is more for you. As far as the existing operations, will those be included in this newly constructed facility or remain?
Yes, on the main floor are going to be the offices of Larling Communications. Our radio studio is going to be located right there in the front. If you look at those windows, you'll be able to see the radio station as we broadcast from the site. And then on the back end corner of Dunham, that's where our television studio is going to be located for our students to come in and shoot cinematography and film.
That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Deanne, before you go, I just have a follow-up to Lynn's question.
Sure. Go ahead.
I think I heard you say that the development of the apartments will be able to take pressure off of fundraising and allow you to have your mission to be more sustainable. Is that what you meant?
It's to create another stream of revenue.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, we have our
Sure.
corporate sponsors, our ministry partners, as well as the radio income, and the next gen income through grant fundraising. But still, it's always good when you're looking at your nonprofit to try and fund it in any way possible.
Very good. Thank you.
I think just a little commentary on the schedule, and
Okay,
thank you.
James?
Hello, I'm James Lewis of Pinnacle Construction Group. I've been working with Deanne on this for quite some time now, pre-COVID, I think. And yeah, she has an ambitious vision, and we've spent a lot of time working on it and assembling a pretty complex financial stack to make it work out for her. So we are at the end at this point. We've assembled 95% of our grants and capital. We're closing on financing with the Affordable Housing Fund with IFF right now. We intend to start construction as soon as we are out of the NEZ and Brownfield process, which should be early to middle of October. And 12-month schedule after that, and 6-month lease up, and hopefully in end of 2025, we have a fully occupied apartment building with affordable housing and the broadcast studios and educational spaces that the nonprofit provides.
That's fantastic, and, thank you so much for participating in this program with Larlin, and I mean, this really, again, is this another great example that speaks to, why this work is so important, and, I know as a sponsor partner, it can be kind of a lift at times, so, yeah, thank you both for your commitment to this.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you, James.
Good luck.
Okay, we do have a motion on the table to approve, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, our next agenda item is the activity report for our environmental site assessment grant program as of July 2024.
We have one other.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, that one slipped by me here, gosh. Okay, we have approval of amendments to the local Brownfield revolving fund policy. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Jess?
All right, so these proposed amendments that are in your packet and before you on the screen are related to the environmental site assessment program, which you approved back in January of 2022. So we've had about 2.5 fiscal years worth of allocations and projects approved, but we're not spending all the money. And one of the suggestions, we've heard, I think, by a few of you on this body, questions about why aren't we able to spend all this money, or is there something we can do to change that? So one of the recommendations that we came up with to try was to remove the funding priorities and fund all of the ESA grants at 100% of what's available. So that's what's before you today as a recommendation. So we have approved about 30 grants in the last 3 years. We've allocated over those 3 years basically $751,000, and we've left $404,000 uncommitted. We've had several projects that have, received 50% funding or 75% funding. And overall, it's probably, $22,000, $25,000 that we didn't spend. But we have also worked with applicants who may be within that 50% threshold that just decide not to apply at all because 50% of a phase 1 is not much, right? And going through that process. We try to make the process as fast and as smooth as possible for a grant like this, but people still have to register as a city vendor to get paid. There is a small application fee, stuff like that. So there's things that we, on that side, can't change. So this is a recommendation to kind of try for a year and see if this helps. And if not, we can certainly evaluate other opportunities, but we think that this is one way that we might be able to get a little bit more money out the door to neighborhoods all over the city, to businesses all over the city that are purchasing property, or for new developers that are also purchasing property for development. So that's sort of one part of the recommendation. And then the other part is to change the language a little bit to give us some additional flexibility around projects that may come before you for brownfield funding in the future. We've typically said we won't do an environmental site assessment grant for that because that's an eligible activity that can be reimbursed with TIF over time. But in some instances, we feel like maybe it might be beneficial to a project early on to get some of those grant funds to make sure that that project is viable later on for brownfield. Obviously, we wouldn't double dip and we wouldn't approve reimbursement twice for those assessments later on. So that's the recommendation. I'm happy to take any questions if you have them.
Go ahead.
So is this temporary? Are we going to revisit it and re-vote on it in a year?
We can absolutely do that. If that's what you would like to do, we can say we'll make these changes and bring this back to you in a year after. So the fiscal year just started, so this is a perfect time to try this. Try it for an entire fiscal year. In June, we can talk about it and see if that worked, and then we can relook at it again at that point. Absolutely.
Because there are people that chose not to apply because of the 50%.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know who would have been out there to apply because if we added the environmental piece of it. It's impossible for you to tell me how much money we would have spent. So it's a first come, first serve?
It is generally, and the other piece of this too is, we have allocated money, but if for some reason we get to a point where we're coming close to our allocation, we can come back and say, hey, would you like to allocate an additional 100,000 or 50,000? That's always open as well, because we do have money in the LBRF, and that is a priority of the fund, so.
Yeah, I think this really speaks to the trend of, at least going back to 2022, we continue to carry over allocated uncommitted funds, and I think, we're not really, I suppose our goal is not necessarily to continue to hang on to money, right? I mean, we want to get it out there, we want to stimulate economic development and investment, so I think this is a great step toward making that happen.
And I think another thing we've discussed too, we've done a lot, I think, to promote the program, but maybe we've also discussed maybe we need to work more directly with some of those environmental consultants that we work with on brownfield plans or that we know are out there to just make sure they're aware of it. So we'll also be doing that too.
Do we need to do, I'm sorry.
Please.
Forgetting.
Feel free.
Do we need to do anything different to make sure we revisit this in a year?
No, I can make note of that. I don't think unless a motion, yeah.
Yeah, let's take a motion.
To change this at any time, so it's really easy to change.
Okay, so as it stands, we'll revisit it in a year?
If you want, you can specify in your motion that you would like
Yes.
to move
Yes.
to approve this for 1 year
Got
and
it.
revisit it in a year, and then it'll be in the minutes, and it'll be more likely to remember to do that.
I would like to do that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I agree.
Thank you. Thanks, Jess. So you had mentioned, some opportunity to connect with some other consultants and things like that. I know on a number of things inside the city, economic development and planning are pretty aligned as well. I think this is also an opportunity to probably communicate out to our corridor improvement authorities as well. So I'll just add those as some other communication channels. So
Yep.
thanks.
And we did, I know when we first approved this program, we did go to all the CIAs and presented, I think Vera presented something to them. So we can certainly ask to do that again,
Yeah.
absolutely.
As Vera knows, we've had some turnover on some of our CIAs, so I think some of our bodies it'd be good just to revisit that. I also think that I would agree with Lynn, and I guess I'll make a motion to amend the resolution. What did the original resolution say? Or do we have to take that resolution off the first one that we just did?
There isn't a resolution in
Oh,
the
there-
packet, so
oh, there
it's
isn't.
be a motion, I think.
Okay. Well, then I'll make a motion, if you want to second it, Lynn, to, that these proposed amendments to our LBRF policy are in place for 1 year as of today.
A second, sorry.
Director Van Fossen, did you have some comments? It looks like you were trying to hit the mic there.
Yeah, thanks. I guess just making sure that the board is aware of what all eligible grant activities are, right?
Yep.
So, very supportive of, 100% funding of a phase one, which as you say can be generally inexpensive, but can be an immediate barrier. It is the initial first step. But there are a lot of other things that can take place that can accumulate value very quickly, which could absorb a great deal of this on only a few projects. So, my hope would be that there's some discretion around, not a broad of any and all eligible grant activity, but maybe there's just a quick overview in case anybody isn't as familiar as what are all of the eligible grant activities that someone could, command some resources for.
Yeah, and I can speak to that right now. So phase one, phase two, a BEA, supplemental vapor investigations are also part of that, and then due care plan. So we will cover all of those.
And those are, most of us know that those can vary in price from, the simple phase one for $2,200, and this can blow up very quickly and become very expensive.
Yep.
I think this is a great opportunity for us to be able to maybe get some more interested people in. I've been talking about this with bank clients. They are unaware of this. So I think that this is going to kind of open the door to some more activity there. I think it's great. Thanks.
Okay, well, Jess, thank you for your work on this, and thank you, directors, for the good feedback and input on this. So I believe we've got an amended motion to support. Seeing no further comments, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. Our last action item in order. We have the activity report for our Environmental Site Assessment Grant Program as of July 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Jess?
All right. So this report is based upon your approval. So we made an assumption, but we would have cut one of these in half had we not approved that, or had you not approved that. So we have 3 grants approved so far this fiscal year, which is great. The first is for 1101 Godfrey Avenue Southwest for $33,700. That's for a phase 1, phase 2, BEA, and a hazardous material assessment, which is one of the ones I forgot to mention. The other is for 251 State Street Southeast. That is for a new business, or a business that's been renting space and they are now purchasing their own building. So that work is for a phase 1, phase 2 BEA and a due care plan. That grant would have been half of that had you not just approved that. So they would be getting the full $12,800 that they requested. The third one is for 443 Sheldon Avenue Southeast. This report, or this property, you've actually supported with another grant previously for ICCF. They were looking to do home ownership on that lot, but there are some significant issues with that property that would make home ownership not work there. So now we have actually an emerging developer that's interested in purchasing this lot. This is a city-owned land bank lot that we're working to option to this individual, and he is looking to do a larger scale apartment building on that property. So for this one, we are looking at a phase 1, a BEA, and then a supplemental vapor investigation. Any questions?
Just for future reference, could you just include in just more columns around the other grant criteria components, so that, the owner, neighborhood of focus, are they an emergent, just like, who's the applicant?
Yep.
How do they meet, just so that we just have, I guess, checking the boxes of all the criteria
Yeah.
that are out there would be great.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, we have a motion to support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Jess. Our next item is other business. Sarah? Yeah.
Just one thing that may be of interest to this board is our intention to initiate conversations with commission around a city land bank. So I just wanted to drop it here. We don't have a ton of information today, but we'll be back to brief you when we have more.
Thank you.
I guess I have a question about that. I know you don't have a ton of information, but the county has a land bank, right? No?
2019, they dissolved it.
Wow, where have I been?
Working, doing other stuff. So the county dissolved the land bank, actually, I think it was the 2 months before I took office in 2020. And then COVID, and then Sarah was probably part of this, just from her work in the MEDC. The mayor and our West Michigan delegation worked to try to have cities of our size be able to create a land bank, so cities of 200,000, I don't remember what the specific legislation, but that was probably spring of this year, I think March, where that was finally approved as part of some other economic development packages. And then I know even before then, the mayor, a couple of other colleagues, there was a little bit of, I think, some thought around how this could be created into action. I think there's probably some other questions, because we can only, this new legislation is also, we can only do it if our county doesn't have it. And so the county hasn't had it, but we also know there's been a lot of changes at the county, but we're moving forward with the assumption that the city of our size, we, not falling into that same kind of legislature that allows the Detroit to have a land bank. So, yeah.
Interesting. Thank you.
Well, so would this board take on governance of a land bank, or do you know?
I think we need to still work some of that out, Jeff. I don't know all the details at this time, but I think that there was a hope that there would be some participation. with
Sure.
the board, yes.
Okay, that's exciting.
I'll just second that, or not second, but just share to your question. I think the mayor's what are some of those synergies that could be created? But also hopeful that we can, this is another one of those things that we've been working on. Obviously welcoming Sarah, but we also know there's going to be changes on our commission body moving forward. So I'd be very anxious to get this going before the end of the year. Thanks.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Our next item is public comment. Okay, seeing none, I will adjourn the meeting. Our next